Welcome you to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses, we're saving jobs, we're saving our community. Now, every now and then we save a soul or two, but that's okay. We just call it icing on the cake. The mission is to build strong businesses in our community so that we can put our people to work. And we do that with business development, job creation, and service. If you ever find yourself at a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, just turn on the Marketing Pulpit TV show. Marketing Pulpit TV show, that's right. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. and we bring you the good marketing gospel. That's right. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and welcome to another show of the Marketing Pulpit TV show. We are heard all over the world. This is Marketing Pulpit International, and we're broadcasting live right outside the nation's capital over in Largo, Maryland. And we've been at this Marketing Pulpit International business for over 10 years. But we're on a mission. When you're on a mission and your cause is just, longevity is just a byproduct. And so we are a testament to that. When you put your mind to something and stick to it and you're consistent and you're making progress and you're just about it, and good things happen. All right, I'm Robert Gatewood. I'm a business developer by trade. I help companies grow. I help businesses start up. I've been doing this for several years. Started out, my first business was actually a shoe shine stand back in North Carolina. I didn't understand the business whole model back then. But I learned by the hard way of doing it. But it was fun though. I learned quite a few things with that shoe shine stand. My dad was a business owner. He was a sharecropper initially. Then he got a small business loan through the Johnson administration and had me in there working behind the counter. And so I got a taste of this business thing rather early, and it has never left me. I was torn most of my life of what I was going to be when I grew up. I was accepted at Syracuse Law School, decided not to do that. I've done all these different jobs, but it just keeps coming back to business. So I quit running from my purpose and embraced it. And here I am today on the air, talking about business development, marketing, strategy, branding, and all the good stuff that goes with it. So welcome to the show. Go to marketingpulpit.com and you can watch the show live right there on the screen. So if somebody say, how do I watch this Robert Gatewood guy? I got a Facebook page, I got a Twitter page, I got a YouTube page. Man, forget all that. Just go to marketingpulpit.com and you can get it right there on the homepage. And you can also get it on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. So we're Marketing Pulpit International, and we are heard around the world. Let's see, we got a lot to talk about today. Quite a bit to talk about, but I always have to start off with a story. Got to tell a story. Because Marketing Pulpit family, let me tell you something. I'm experiencing growing pains. I don't know if any of you out there, you small business owners, big business owners, whatever you are, have you experienced growing pains before? What that means is that you are growing and you're making adjustments. Things aren't quite the way they used to be. So it's not like a physical pain, but it's a mental pain. It's anguish. Now, last time I was on air, I announced that I was not going to take any new customers during the month of February. That I was done because I was going through these growing pains. Well, I hate to say it, but that didn't work out. Thank you, Level Up. Thank you, Table Press. Thank you, Coach Pam. I welcome you with open arms, and you were already in the pipeline. So thank you. And we're going to give you the best service that you could have gotten from anywhere. And plus, we're not going to take you on as a client if we can't provide that wonderful service. But it just kind of, a little sidebar, kind of added to my growing anxiety. Well, this is a good problem to have, right? You must admit, this is a good kind of problem. In the middle of a pandemic and your business is growing. And I must admit, the reason we're doing it is because we're in a space where things are really jumping. Kind of a side story on top of that. This week I had to, I was working on putting two businesses, helping them put together their online courses. One was a CPA firm, the other is a psychologist. And the irony of it, I was also required by the college where I teach as an adjunct to take an online course on how to take an online course. So I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You can't make me take a course on how to teach online when I'm putting together systems to help people teach online. But I didn't get in my big. I didn't get beside myself. I went ahead and took the course. It just was a distraction. I was busy, and I'm taking a course on how to teach a course while at the same time I'm building courses for people who are teaching. Well, anyway, that's a story for another day. Just once again added to my anxiety for the week. And I know this is a little personal, but I'm going to go ahead and share it with you because some of you may be experiencing something similar when you're growing. Now, my reason for growing, my pain is a little more. It might not be what you think. It's really kind of personal. I get a client contacted me on probably Monday, Tuesday, and she was kind of had a question. She said, "Look, I got an invoice for a domain, and I had paid you guys for the domain 2 years ago. I mean, for 2 years, I paid for 2 years in advance, so I shouldn't be getting an invoice for this. I mean, I understand the frustration. You don't be paying for something you've already paid for, but in the midst of the million things that I was doing, that's not really a fight I wanted to get into. I mean, a domain is going to cost about $10 a year, and even for the 2 years that she had paid for it, we're talking about $20. And I'm not bragging, but on the average, people pay me about $200 an hour for my services. So I'm on the phone talking about a $10 domain, and I'm watching the clock just go tick, 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 tick. So what do you get? I can't, this is a client of mine, somebody I've known for years. I can't say, look, I'm so big and bad that I don't have time to talk to you. But in reality, I didn't. And that's what I'm going through right now. People that knew me, people that I've worked with for many years, they still like to call me personally. And Lord knows I love all my clients. But sometimes, folks, I just can't do it. I'm busy. And so I've hired some very capable people. Now, I know some of you are probably wrestling with this same issue if you're going through these growing pains. And then the other issue, here's another layer, because usually if you're doing business with a business, many business owners feel like, well, I'm a business owner, so I should talk to the business owner. So that adds another element. But it makes it kind of precarious for me because I am a business to business company. So everybody I talk to is going to be a business owner for the most part, which kind of means that most business owners feel like if they apply that logic that I'm a business owner, so I should talk to the business owner, then I'm going to be on the phone all day talking to business owners. So this is what I did. I put together some, and I think about it. So if I use that logic, then I should be on the phone right now talking to Mark Zuckerberg. Say, daggone it, why did you put me in Facebook jail? I'm a business owner. Talk to me. Then people say, look, Rob, you're not Mark Zuckerberg, okay? Well, if I'm ever going to become a Mark Zuckerberg, I can't be on the phone all day talking about a $10 domain or a $20 email account. I just can't do it. So folks, just bear with me. Be my therapist. You are going to be my therapist today. I'm laying on your proverbial couch, on your virtual couch, and I'm hoping you can kind of bear with me, kind of understand what I'm going through, what I'm wrestling with here. So this is what I decided to do. I put together some guidelines to consider if you are a business owner and you're going through some of these same growing pains. These are some things to consider. When you get that call, you up to your eyeballs in work. I mean, you pulling your couple of hairs that you have out, and somebody's on the line talking about a daggone email account. I mean, the email account is worth literally $20 a year. I would have to charge you $5,000 a year for that email account to have me on the line with you every time you call. So this is the thing to consider. Okay, first of all, you have to consider the price of the service. Now, of course, every client is valuable. Every service is. We talk about building blocks and lifetime value, but you got to consider the price of the service as to whether or not you should engage that client in a lengthy discussion. Now, if somebody's talking about an email account, $20, you probably want to make sure that you want to kind of gently hand them off to somebody else. But if they're talking about, like one of these learning systems I just put together, these things could be $4,000 or $5,000. And I want to take that call. I want to make sure that they're still understand that this is a really valuable client. And yeah, I'm going to get off my high horse and come down there and talk to you. Okay. The other thing to talk about, whether you, the client, should if you're experiencing some of these growing pains and you're trying to make these decisions or using these guidelines, how many clients do you have? If you only have 2 clients, and you better take that darn call. But if you're dealing with thousands of folks like in my company, we can't take it. I can't take every call. I can't get involved in every call. Now we have different levels of service. We have web services where we have hundreds and possibly thousands of people that we provide email and domain services for. That's the Gatewood web. Go to gatewood.co for that service. And yes, some of those folks call me too. They go, oh, look, man, my email didn't work. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So, okay, so the size of the service, the amount of money they spent can kind of help you decide if you're going through these growing pains, whether you should get involved in that conversation. Now, this one where it gets a little personal, you have to evaluate the depth of that relationship. How much money they've spent with you over the years, even though that reason they're calling might not add up to a executive decision. You don't need the president jump on the line and talk about your email account, but still, you can't just brush them off because they've been working with you since you were first started. You got to use your kid gloves. Have they been sending you referrals? They're a big referral source. Okay, so it is a $10 call. You still might want to jump on the line. Are you involved in some type of joint venture or partner with them, and that relationship is important? Okay, they're having a small problem, but you may want to consider, because of the special relationship, you might want to jump on that call and see what's going on. Now, here's one to consider also. What is the severity of the problem they're calling about? Sometimes it doesn't matter how big that order is or how long you've been knowing them. If that problem is going to wreck their company or yours, you might want to jump on and take that call. Growing pains are one thing, but you don't want the wheels to come off your wagon because you handed this off to somebody else who didn't understand all the intricacies that were involved in the problem. So yeah, there are extenuating circumstances. But even with all of these, you have to ask yourself, am I really just getting in the way by trying to handle the problem? Can this really be handled better by one of your staff? I'm one of these folks that hate to let go, right? I'm telling you, I've been a small business owner so long, it's just hard to let certain things go. I'll be sitting there doing stuff. Like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Let me hand this over to Latrice or D'Angelo or Laura or somebody else. Let them handle this. And then I have to kind of back up and say, okay, but sometimes you think you're doing that client a favor by you personally getting involved, well, you actually could be hampering the process. If it's a SEO problem and I'm not the SEO specialist, then who am I helping by getting involved? Even though I may have that rapport, that relationship with the client. So what you want to do in that case, ladies and gentlemen, is do what we call a gentle handoff. I've become an expert at that lately because I've had to do it so many times. You said, look, I really want to help you with this. Don't start talking about I'm busy, I'm important, I'm the president. Don't do that, folks. That's not a good look. What you want to do is say, look, I really want to help you, but I tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you in touch with D'Angelo. Now, this is his specialty. This guy's got a degree in it. He can give you some success stories. He can walk you through it. And I'm going to talk to him personally to make sure you get the royal treatment. Okay, how about that? Matter of fact, let me see if I can get him right now. Matter of fact, I will stay on the line to make sure that we can kind of talk about it together, so make sure he understands it. So that's what we call a gentle handoff. Because I'm telling you, folks, if you are growing and you don't make some of these adjustments and some of this consideration, you can overreact by saying, I'm almighty and I don't have time for you. Or you can underreact by trying to still be involved on these projects that you really need to be hands off. This is part of growing pains. We have to be able to deal with it. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I just had to tell this story because we've been growing, and that's a good thing. But I'm never going to be so big that I can't get down in the trenches. And I tell every client that comes in my door, I am personally involved. If I'm not physically there, I see every project come across my table. Matter of fact, somebody was emailing. I was watching one of the threads yesterday between one of my staff and one of the clients. I just kind of jumped in the middle of the conversation. I said, hey, I see you guys are talking. Hey, well, let me set up a client and let's have a quick meeting on Zoom and talk about your project. Just make kind of, I want to stay in the loop and make sure everything is moving along. And then everybody was happy. Just the client was happy. The employee was happy. Everybody was happy. So we never get too big, but at the same time, we got to be able to navigate these growing pains. I'm telling you, folks, it could be a deal breaker if you're not careful. Matter of fact, somebody who I know is having growing pain because she's always growing, my co-host, I almost forgot about her over here. She is one of the most, probably the, what do you call it, a chameleon? A chameleon is one of these people that always can change with the environment. No matter what happens, the world could be on fire. You're going to grow fire skin, you're going to grow fireproof skin. Anyway, well, let me bring on my co-host, the Wellologist, Candice Camille. Good morning, Candice.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? You know, he's talking about me and I'm cracking up, but I'm listening to you on your rant this morning, Robert. As you go through, but I get it. And yes, in business, you will have growing pains no matter how you look at it. I mean, unbelievably growing pains, but most of the times, one of the things I say to myself, and I say this to all of my clients and all entrepreneurs, is that when things just start going crazy, you know, what we think is crazy, one of the questions I always ask myself is, what's good in this? You know, what's good in this? Because you can always find what's bad about it, right?
Yes.
So even as you're going through some stuff and talking to some people, just so I don't make myself crazy because I'm on a mission, because when crazy starts to creep into you, you stop everything you're doing. So you have to figure out what's good in it so you can keep moving, because it's always a way to keep moving. Because as Robert, you know, I talk to people all day. Some people that's working for me, some people that's hard, and they calling me and asking me questions and stuff like that. I'm like, what the hell I hire you for? Why are you calling me? So
oh, that is so true.
You know, and this is some of the things you say, but again, those are growing pains and understanding. And even when I make that statement, it's what you asking me for is simply because I don't know the whole system myself. So as you're going through and you're learning the whole process of whatever change you're trying to get into, and here's the biggest part of that. I always say the caveat: you gotta be a part of the change. You got to be a part of the change as you move through whatever is going on. Because, oh, yes, sir. Having some growing pains as we go through building, you know, Candice Camille Enterprises and the Sexy Fit and Well movement. But I always look at it as that, you know, they say when things start getting crazy and it looks like it's getting ready to go under, it's actually getting ready to explode. So stay in it. So that's one of the things I tell myself when things seems to, in business, especially as an entrepreneur. You've been an entrepreneur longer than I have. So I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years straight, 15 of those years, you know, where I actually left my job. I always say fired my boss. So straight entrepreneur. So if no money's coming in on that day, you ain't got no money. You ain't got no days you can use. You ain't got nothing. So you just gotta figure this out. So for the last 15 years, I'm consistently figuring it out so I can get to where I want to be, and understanding even when you hire somebody to help you do something or change some things in your business, you still have to mind your business. That's one of the biggest lessons. Like, you just can't push it over to them. You got to mind your business. You got to stay in it. So that was some good stuff. Or pass it off to somebody else that know how to do it, like you said.
Well, you're right. Being in business, we there's an old phrase: you eat what you kill. If you don't, it's like a hunter. If you don't eat, you don't kill that day. You don't eat. So you have to be. And that's a big responsibility. And when you start growing this business, you have to remember that there are other people that are depending on you to be successful. And so you can't just think about only yourself. So sometimes you're making these decisions based on your own personal experience, but you have to dig deeper in that. You have to look at the stakeholders, and stakeholders, of course, your clients, one of your number one, but your employees, your contractors, your business partners, your vendors, suppliers. So there's a lot at stake when this company starts to grow. I remember uh, people always using the analogy of Zuckerberg and Bezos, and they went through this too. And they really did. And people like to say, well, look, Robert or Candice, look, you're not at that level. Well, if I'm ever going to get to that level, I've got to go through this, and I've heard you even say this, growth and improvement is usually some pain involved. Whether you're trying to build that muscle, whether you're trying to get into a new lifestyle, it's some discomfort. You have to go through it. If you're not experiencing discomfort, you're not growing, you're not changing.
But here's the thing about that. Because a lot of times we don't listen, you use pain, discomfort. The average person just don't want it. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be discomfort. But again, you got to think about that's what's in your mindset, right? That's your mindset. So you got to figure out even for the discomfort, and you got to go through it, because the reason why we don't continue to move is who wants pain? Think about working out. Most folks stop working out because they haven't worked out in 40 years and now they're going to start working out and something hurt. So they'd be like, they get up the next morning and be like, I don't want to do that. But you got to look out at the long term of it. So what's going to happen later on? Like if I don't worked out for this week, or I'm working in my business, this may be a little uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing. But in the long run, see, we have to always consider in our discomfort, in our pain, what's happening in the long run. I'm doing this not for now. Like I ain't building this muscle for now, but I may be building this hot body for now. Let me that's a whole nother subject. But I ain't doing this for now. But it's going to be good for me in the long run, especially when it comes to business and understanding, like even when they use, Jeff Bezos, and you talk about Mark Zuckerberg and how they started and what they have gone through, of course, reading some of their stories, exactly a little bit of the things that we're going through. So we go through things on different levels. But here's what I like to say on that. It doesn't matter what level you're on. It doesn't matter if you got $1 million or if you got $1. Pain is pain. Everybody's pain is pretty much the same. And you got to deal with it that way. It doesn't negate because you got $1 and he got $1 million. But trust me, he's feeling the same crappy way that you feeling. And you still have to work out what it is in order to get to your next level. You either gonna stay or you gonna go home. That's just basically in business. You either gonna do it, be in business, take all the growing pains, take all the risks that come with it, or own the fact that I'm gonna get out of this and I'm gonna go to work for somebody else, because who else you decide to go to work for? They doing business. See, that's a business we going to work in that they're paying us to help them build their business. See, that's a piece we don't get when we go and say, you know what? I just need to go back to work. I can't do this. But when we go back to work, and that's okay if that's something that you want to do. But understand this. If I go back in the hospital, I'm helping building that business. So no matter what we're doing, we are building a business. It may not necessarily be yours, but you are helping always building some type of business, as long as there's a money exchange involved. So that's one of the things you have to do. So you got to decide, am I going to build my business or am I going to build somebody else's business? Pain is the same.
And you're right. And you're right about another thing, that you might think you're going to go to that other business and escape the pain or the anxiety. But no, you're just taking on somebody else's pain and anxiety. That's what you're doing. You're not escaping it. You're just taking somebody else's.
So how many people Robert, that simply says, you know what, this job is kicking my butt and getting on my damn nerve, because it's like I get all stressed out. I go to work. I talk to women all day long, the ones that's actually in the careers and going to work, or the ones that's working at home and the things that they have to do. Basically, what they're saying right now is that this job is stressing me out more now that I'm home than I'm not. So you still get the same type of stress level. You get the anxiety. And guess what? I'm talking to some of them and they said they even working harder than they did when they were on the inside. So you still gonna work, right? You still gonna work no matter how you look at it.
Amen. Amen. I say good morning to brother Gerald Brown, the greatest plumber in town. Great young man. He's living right, and He's being blessed for all his hard work and his contribution to family, society, and we just need more people in the world like Brother Gerald Brown. He says hello there, Candice.
Hey,
Gerald Brown,
Gerald, how you doing?
Trinity Plumbing. Uh, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, do a couple of news items. Then Candice and I are going to talk about the business of your body and some of that good stuff. And later in the show, I'm going to talk about also quickly some ways that are proven to get you more sales. And I'll talk about a lot of ethereal type things on this show. That means the deep foundational, get into the mind. But every now and folks say, look, man, I want to get some sales now. Give me some tools I can use tomorrow. Well, so I'm gonna share some of those today. And when I say proven, I treat marketing and advertising like your stock portfolio. There are some things you got to try just because they're hot at the moment, but there's some things you got to always do. They're just foundational advertising techniques and channels. So the things I'm going to talk about are the things that are proven, and nobody can talk about what works better than I can because I have to deal with it every day. And people look at me, they're going to look at me side-eyed if I'm doing things that are not working for them. So when it works, I put it in that column. This has been proven to work, and it has to be more than one client. I'm not going to do something one time and get lucky and say, wait, that's a proven technique. No, it has to have a track record of success. And so that's what I'm going to share with you later on. These are things that have been proven to work. Over my 20, almost 30 years of doing this, these things have been proven. Now, some of them weren't around 30 years ago, but they've been around at least 5 or 6. And so I'm going to share that later in the show. So you don't want to miss that because many people, and I'm telling you folks, people pay me good money for this. People retain me and they're paying me a pretty penny. I'm going to share it to you today over the Marketing Pulpit TV show. So hang on for a second. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood. I'm here with my talented co-host, Candice Camille. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a sec. As soon as I can pull up one of our sponsor ads right here for a minute. So hang on there, folks. Hang on, right? 1 minute.
Rayford Lee Brown Sr. I am the owner and founder of B&B Cleaning Services, LLC. We are a janitorial, floor cleaning, and property maintenance business.
All right, welcome back to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We've got a great show lined up here. We're going to bring in my co-host, and we're going to talk about some of the items that are happening in the news, because what I like to do is to give the news some context, because you cannot live in a vacuum if you are a business owner. As a matter of fact, President Biden signed an executive order this week, which really, it was almost like he'd been reading my notes. He talked about supply chain. He wants his federal agencies to take a review of the supply chain. Now, I did a couple of shows about this during the pandemic because I was one of the few people that was kind of like, I know that you got COVID out there in the chicken plants and you got COVID out here, over here, and over there. But can you really just stop producing food? Come on. I don't care how serious COVID gets. You cannot stop the supply chain of making food, or we all going to die. We're just going to plain die because there's nothing to eat.
Well, at least in 7 days you will.
You know what I mean? You might be for a little while, but eventually the supply chain is going to dry up. So I was like, people like, yeah, We can't send those folks back in those chicken plants if they got COVID. Let them go home. I'm like, that's good, but if you don't want to eat, if you don't want any chicken, you can't go to Popeyes and give that sandwich that everybody's fighting over. If you'd have told all the workers to go home, that's like a elementary glimpse into supply chain. But what I have been advising business owners to do, you have to look and figure out where you fit in the supply chain that you are in. You are in a supply chain, whether you realize it or not. Like Candice, she is part of the supply chain. If she falls off the map, that means the rate of hospital admissions is going to go up because people aren't they're not being healthy. They're not eating right. They're not exercising. So she is in whether a willing or unwillingly, you are part of a supply chain. If I fall off the map and nobody's helping business owners grow, then unemployment goes up, your taxes goes up. So we are all a participant in the supply chain, whether we realize it or not. Now, what the president did, he signed this executive order, basically to say, look, there's certain things like pharmaceuticals, uh, large capacity batteries to keep the power grids going and all those kind of things. Those cannot be disrupted. It's like pandemic be damned, whether we have a pandemic or not. Certain things have to go on. And so he was really talking my language. And like I said, I'm not, this is not a political issue. This is not like, well, do you believe in whether you like Trump or not, whether you like Biden or not? No, this is a life and death issue. And if you don't believe it, look at your own personal situation. If you're a hairdresser, you cannot be in business if there's no hair being made. There's nobody producing hair. If all of a sudden everybody get alopecia and the hair, there's no hair to be made, the hair business will dry up. So there's an vested interest in making sure that the population get alopecia, so that there can be some hair for human hair that can be produced and be sold on the marketplace. Anyway, supply chain.
Especially even the products as well. So even when you're talking about that, you never look at it what chain that you're in, like where do you fall on that line if things just dry up. But of course, Robbie, even for that, especially about the food, when you talk about it's almost a catch-22, that you're in right now, is that yes, we got to eat, but we still got to be very mindful of this deadly virus that's around and doing the thing about it, we got to eat, but we still got to be mindful. So now, even when we look at the politicians and all of the political line, are they saying that 500,000 deaths, is that okay because we got to keep the supply chains going? Or do we have to do what's necessary so we can still keep the chain going, still keep the economy growing, but still be safe inside of ourselves in terms of what it is that we have to do? So we take, for instance, that these kids are going back to school and next month, right? Because March is here. So next month, the kids are going back to school, our kids in other areas they're already in. But are we taking the next necessary precautions as we get back there? The same thing with the supply chains, the farms, the meat, the hair supply, everything that we need in terms of doing this. Are we taking the necessary precautions to make sure that for our people that come in and work, I've been working with my team virtually, but if I get back in my gym, they're coming back in. So are we taking the necessary precautions to see what it is to be safe and still be able to survive and live?
You are right, and you really you kind of you took an approach which I appreciate, because like you said, if you have 500,000 people dying, you can't be worrying about whether or not you can get chicken or not, because if the chicken, you can live without chicken. You might be able to eat plants, or you might be able to drink water, eat bread or something else. So it has to be a balancing act. That's why you have to get the smart people at the table. Say, look, sure, we want to keep the chicken supply chain going, but let's do it safely. Let's make sure that the supply chain will maintain itself, because if everybody's dead, there's going to be no chicken to eat. So there's no demand for chicken if everybody's dead from COVID. So that's the other way of looking at it. That's a good angle. That's a good angle.
Because you got things of thinking about it, because yes, you hear it all the time. I'm one. Do I miss my brick and mortar building? Yes. But right now, am I in a position to go back and make sure, or not even make sure, because there's the PPE and everything that you need to make sure, but you still got to sit comfortable in it when people are coming to use your facility, to work in your facility, and all those things. You still have to, because, okay, so I don't know about you, did you did the virus shot? You know, at the end of the day, once everybody get their shot, does that mean we go back to a sense of normalcy, or is that just the start of another build onto something until we get to normalcy that says when we go into these places, are we really going to be safer?
I think what's going to happen, I think it's going to be a gradual process. And I think eventually social proof, which is the driver of so many things in our lives, when it becomes socially unacceptable not to have a vaccine or not to go into the restaurant. Right now, the social proof is saying if you're being careless and if you're doing certain things, then you're taboo. But eventually, that's going to shift where the social proof is going to be on go back to work, go back to the restaurant, and you'll be ostracized if you're the one that's saying don't do these things. And that's like with so many things in society. We'll follow the leader or follow the crowd society. When the crowd decides, okay, it's cool to go back to the restaurant, well, they're gonna go back whether it's safe or not. That's the kind of way it works. Hey,
Well,
everybody else went, I'm going too.
it's unfortunate, but there's some truth in that. So and again, you have to be able to sit in your own, I guess, for a lack of a better word, safety, or your non-fearful self. Because I think a lot of the times when we go out, especially even with the masking on, and I'm sure I'll get into some trouble for saying this, but who cares? At the end of the day, these little fabric masks that we have, if you don't have an N95 or one-way filter and all that stuff, it's not blocking anything. It's a matter of it's settling down our fear. So basically that's what it is. So if you don't have an N95 or whatever, and you done took your scarf and wrapped it around your mouth, that's just settling your own fears. But in terms of the virus itself, you're still got yourself out there and open if it's to get it, because that a lot of my clients talk about that. So I believe, and this is a wellologist speaking personally, that the mask that we wear, that we are saying mandated to wear, especially when you're in the stores and all of that kind of stuff, the covering up to protect yourself and other people. I say to everybody, just go ahead if you can. Spend the money and get you the N95, because that's what's going to stop the spread. No, I need to talk to some companies. Maybe they can pay me. Who knows? But at the end of the day, get the N95 and say that not only now you're settling your fears, but you really are saying that I'm protecting myself, my family, and the community.
It sounds like what you're saying is these masks, and I kind of feel the same way. I don't have any data to prove it, but it's perfunctory. It's like you have to show that you are being responsible. I look at some of these things. I mean, the thing hanging off your nose. It's not even covering the mouth. It's like thin as tissue paper. I'm like, yeah, I know you're just doing it because you have to or you're supposed to because society says now you should be wearing one. But you end up heart of heart saying to yourself, that thing ain't protecting anybody, him or us.
Or us. So that's what I'm saying. So even if you get away from what society says and bring it back into you and your family, when you talk about me, I don't walk out of here. I have my cute mask on over my N95. So it's,
Right.
it's just, but you got to keep the cute factor. That's the girl thing. So I have my N95 and my mask over it. But if you're talking about just making sure that this doesn't touch you from that particular space, then you want to get yourself something that's going to protect you better when you're out there. If you want to be cute, they got all kind of cute masks out right now. But at the end of the day, if you're talking about protection, look at Robert done
Got
done
my
pulled out.
my branding, my
Put,
branding
like I
going
said,
on.
put your brand under it, but make sure you got to listen. Make sure you got a filter in it that's going to protect you.
Yeah,
Never mind
that's
anything
right.
else that's going to, because it's all about us getting protected and being able to, like you said, walk on the other side of this. From some of the readings and stuff that I'm doing, it's basically said we may be in these masks till 2022, and we just starting out in 2021.
All right. Well, you're right. We're going to be at this for a minute. Quickly, Costco just bumped this minimum wage up to $16 an hour, and that's I say good for them. There is going to be a debate. Um, Walmart is already went to 16, went 15, and now Costco decided to jump up to 16. And I think that's good. I think that we're going to continue to see this debate about does everybody get 15? Because the question keeps coming up. And look, if I'm already at 15 because I have longevity and I've been with the company for 5, 6 years, and the person that just came in the door was making 725, when you bump them up to 15, am I still going to be at 15? That doesn't seem fair. You got to bump me up now to 25.
All right, so
That's
Robert,
the tricky. That's the tricky part.
but that's when the union come in, right? This is when you're talking about your union presidents getting down and fighting for you. So again, bringing back some of my back in the day in the hospital, I was union president. So those are some of the things that you look at, those little arbitrary statements or those little arbitrary and capricious events that comes up inside of your workplace that you have to go in and fight for when you're changing the rules. So when that happens, that's when you have that union president that comes in and say, wait a minute, wait, let me understand this, because we're bumping the wage up to $16 an hour. I've been here for 10 years and I'm making $15.73. What's going to happen to my salary as long as my longevity? So you're talking about seniority now, right? So we're going to have to talk about that. So, oh yeah, we're going back to the table.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would have a serious problem with it. It's like, man, it took me 10 years to get here. This joker just started last week. Now you're making the same thing.
Listen, I would be making noise. I would be making noise too. Like, wait a
I
minute.
want everybody to eat and be happy, but come on now. I've been here. I worked with this $15.
Well, if they're smart enough when you're talking about the chains or whoever the employee are, just to quiet that down, they should have something, and I'm sure they have something that's already in effect that will go in effect that once they start this $16 an hour where you are, what they're going to do with their former employee support. You're talking about retention now. Because if that's the case, like, how do you retain me here? To keep me here, what are you going to do for me? Because just like any other business, we're consistently going after the new, but what are we doing about the ones that we have? And you always talk about that too. When was the last time you emailed a former client or somebody that's already in your plant that's doing a really good job? But now all you're worried about is the new people coming back in. Like what? What
Yeah,
am
that's right.
I?
What about me? I've been with you 30 years.
Working 30
You
years.
in great.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Oh boy. Well, Candice, let's talk about a minute about what's happening in the business and health world.
You know what,
What's
Robert? I want to talk to the women. I'm Candice Camille, the Wellologist, founder of CEO of Candice Camille Enterprises and founder of the Sexy Fit and Well movement in Plank Talk Nation. What I do as a Wellologist, I help women become sexy, fit, and well through meals, mindset, and movement with results you can see in your body but feel in your soul, because it's all about seeing and feeling, and it matches up. So that's what I do. But one of the things I want to talk about, because I read an article recently and it talked about Black women. So of course I'm a Black woman, so this caught my attention, of course. And
naturally?
again, you're a Black man, but you got Black women in your life, so men, listen up, right? So here's the deal. What they talked about was that Black women want to be unhealthy. We want to be overweight. Like, we like being obese. I got pissed. Takes a lot to piss me off, right? But I got pissed, right?
You didn't have to talk to a hand, did you?
I'm reading the article. I'm like, what the hell, right?
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, that's right. I'm reading. But here's the thing. So as I read on, they start talking about statistics, right? So they talked about the statistics of us as Black women in terms of it. But 68% of us are out of order when it comes to our health. So now you have to be able to ask the question, is it something that we want, or why aren't we doing what's necessary to do something about it? Why are we remaining that statistic? So that bothered me a little bit. Of course, it bothered me the fact to say that I want to be obese, that I want diabetes, that I want heart disease. Like, what the hell are you saying? It's basically as I'm reading this, right? But as I kept reading and did more research, it talked about statistics. So when you're talking about statistics, we are in that high level of statistics when it comes to those diseases. So do we like it being there? Because that was one of the first part of the article that got my attention. And it bears to the fact to say, well, maybe we do, because we haven't taken the time, we haven't made the decision to do something about it. So I'm on a mission to do something about it. I want every Black woman that's listening to this, it's time. The time is now, right? You keep saying that you're going to do it tomorrow, but when tomorrow comes, tomorrow going to be today. So right now is the time to get something done. No matter what it is that you're doing, you have to ask yourself, are you okay, or are you happy? Because that's what they said, that you're happy with being overweight and obese and, having these diseases that we have control over. See, that's the biggest word. You're in control of your health. So do you really like it? Because that's the question I want to ask. Because if you don't like it, now it's time to do something.
Well, let me get in trouble here, because I'm into religion or politics, get in trouble. But considering that women are such, I mean, I've talked about on this show, I said, if you want something done, guys, and I'm talking to the guys, if you want something done, if you want your business to move or your nonprofit to move, you better get some women involved. Because Black women make things happen. Organization, attention to detail, motivation. Now, considering that, could you take that same zeal and motivation and attention to detail and apply it to health? And it sounds like what that article is saying, why isn't it? Why isn't that same?
And that's exactly what it's saying, Rob. It's saying, why isn't it? So you have this absolutely amazing system. Like, we are all go-getters. You are absolutely right, correctly. We are all go-getters. But why aren't we a go-getter for our own health and well-being? But it boils down to, you get to decide. And also, for me, building that zeal, that go-getter, gonna make it happen, gonna give you every spreadsheet there is, that's important to you. But the question that begs the answer that the article talked about is your health, is your well-being important to you? So if, like, when you hear that, you want to say yes, but look at the numbers, because the numbers don't lie. So when you look at 66% of us that's dealing with diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, obesity. And yes, by the way, obesity is an illness. It's a disease that literally will follow you the rest of your life on your medical report. Your doctor may say to you, you know what, Robert, all you got to lose is 50 pounds. But on your record that I'm going to look at, insurance and everything else, is going to say he's morbid obese. And you're going to be charged for being morbid obese. So you're going to pay for it either way. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, why isn't it important? Why isn't your health important?
At the risk of sounding like an apologist, would certain systemic challenges be a contributing factor? Like, for instance, Black women make 60%, 70% of what white men make in the workplace. Black women tend to be the head of households in the Black community, which means they don't have as much time to commit to their own well-being because they're raising their children, and sometimes they got some no good dude hanging around. They're trying to take care of him too. So I'm doing a lot of generalizing. So forgive me, I'm just kind of have a point on. But does the sisters carry burdens and challenges that other segments of society don't carry, and could that be contributing factors to their poor health?
It really is. Some of them are, but here's what the Wellologist says. So this is coming out of my mouth, Robert. What I say, at the end of the day, you still get to decide. You can't use your responsibilities in life to say you're not going to be well, because it doesn't take a lot to move, to go and walk. It doesn't take a lot to get down and push up or push off the wall. At the end of the day, At the end of the day, it don't take a lot to plank. You got a minute, you still have to put it in there and push through. That, yeah, we dealing with a lot of nonsense in our life. And some things are our fault and some things that we're not. But can we push past the stress or the depressions of it or the pressures of it to make sure that we're better? Because here's the caveat of that. If you start taking better care of yourself, you will start making better. Your questions will be different. You'll be having different results. You won't allow some of this nonsense, like you said at the end, with the no nonsense dude. Right then it's time to throw his ass overboard. At the end of the
I'm not
day,
trying to get anybody kicked out today.
sorry, but at the
Sorry,
end
bro.
of the day, you'll get to decide, right? That's a whole nother thing. But at the end of the day, Robert, it boils down to you making that decision to say, what, no matter what I'm dealing with, no matter what I'm dealing with my kids, with my husband, with my significant other, with my job. So you're talking about those 4 points, and that's part of the equation of your life. But what's missing is the 5th one, and that's you. And for women, what we have to do is put ourselves and our well-being into that equation so we don't keep being these statistics that we are. So yes, I say you got to get up and eat. Listen, you don't have to change everything. Change one thing. See, because you can only do one thing at a time. If you don't like the way that you're feeling, so Robert, here's where it is. So even when you talk about that article, if you're okay with being obese, then you good. But if you're not okay with it, what's the one thing? It only takes one, Robert. 1 minute, one word, one thing, one more to say that is one thing that I'm going to do differently today. So for all of you that's listening, that comes back and look at this replay or whatever, especially you Black women, you men too, I am on a mission. What's the one thing that you're going to do to get yourself out of being a statistic? Number 1. Number 2, what's that one thing you're going to do to make yourself feel better? What's that one thing you're going to do to make your family feel better? Because as you do that one thing, it keeps adding up to you building your well-being, and you get off that statistic list.
Oh my goodness. Every Black woman in America needs to hear this, because what I'm taking from this is that if you have, yes, there are some challenges. Yes, you're underpaid according to your peers in the workplace, whether it's white men or white women. You're paid below grade. Yes, you have facing some challenges at home. You may be the head of household. You may have a significant other that might need assistance, and you kind of pulling a little more weight than you think you should. But you can't do any of that if you're not taking care of yourself. You can't go fight for that raise. You can't go fight to get more money. You can't take care of those children as the head of household. You can't help your partner build him up and support him if you're not supporting yourself.
Oh,
And
Robert, before you go, I have to say this because you made a good point about being in corporate America and how they pay us as women, more or less Black women. But if you read this book called The Entrepreneur Diet, right, it talks about how they pay us according to our waist size and our behind, right? So basically, Lord, they say that your bottom line has a lot to do with the size of your waistline and your behind. So you even get paid different based on your well-being. That's not my saying. Let me tell you, it's in the book. Go check it out. But
I can imagine that. I can imagine that. And it is wrong. There's no justification, even anything close to it. But you come wobbling in there 400 pounds and not taking care of yourself, and then you're competing against somebody who's fit, because you might be looking at the bottom line, but they also, like I said, looking at your bottom, because they know when you're overweight, is you're predisposed.
Come on.
High blood pressure, high cholesterol, hypertension, cancer, all of the ills. So sometimes it's even a business decision. You might call it a race or sexist decision, but if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not doing anybody any favors.
But think about about it for a second, Robert. Why would I invest in you when you're not investing in yourself? And a lot of the companies simply says that. So if you go back in the 70s or whatever, where companies literally used to pay for our health insurance, like it was part of their plan. Look at where it came to after that, because we were being so unhealthy. So now they start making us pay for our own thing. Because if you got hired before in corporate America, that was part of your benefit plan. You worked for your 90 days and you got full benefits. But the more sicker we got, the more unhealthy we got, these companies says, wait a minute, I can't
But
pay you to be unhealthy. So not only do they pay you less, but now you have to pay for insurance, because they're saying, well, if you're unhealthy, you sick, you're taking time off, you're messing with my bottom line.
but but what I'm going to do, I'm not going to let the companies off either, because I'm an employer and I employ several people. If I want to make sure that that woman or that man, regardless of who they are, if they come into my company, we're going to make sure that we help them get to that place where they need to be. That's what a proactive company does. That's what a company that really cares about its employees, trying to protect this brand and its stakeholders and its investment. We're not going to kick you to the curb. We're going to say, look, okay, so you got some weight issues. Let's do this. Let's talk about this. Let's bring in the Wellologist and give some workshops on how to get this weight in line. Let's show them how to take the stairs instead of the elevator. Drink water instead of grape sodas at lunchtime. Stop going to Popeyes every break. So it's not, we can't let the corporations off the hook by just saying, okay.
We're not letting them off the hook. And there is some companies that have their wellness strategies in the things that come in, right? I work with some clients that the companies give them 2 and 3 hours a week to go to the gym. I can say, wait, 2 and 10 of them don't go. So the stuff
I'm trying.
The stuff that's there for them. And I'm not trying, I want you guys to understand, like, yes, but it's not the company's responsibility. It is their responsibility to give us an option. It is to give us an option. So if you're a good company, like even for my team that comes in here and work with me, it's not an option that you got to work out 3 hours a week. You got to do it. Why? You come into a gym, so I'm going to see that you do it. It's part of your contract that you sign, right? So
you're saying it ultimately, no matter what the company does, it ultimately falls back on you. It's your responsibility. That's the bottom line.
It's your health. It's your responsibility. We can take advantages of the things that the companies and everything that afford us to us, and we thank them for doing it. But at the end of the day, just like those companies that give you a gym that say you can go, but you never utilize this. We never utilize what's put in front of us. We are quick to blame, but for the ones that you do, you got to stop playing the blame game. At the end of the day, your health and well-being, and I'm going to end it with this, Robert, is your responsibilities. Black women, let's change the statistics.
Girl, this is a gem. I'm telling you. This is a gem. I'm going to skip my break. I'm going to slide right into these proven sales channels. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. I'm here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. I bring you the good marketing gospel. And Candice, are you want to stick around or you need to run? Which one is it?
What time is it? I got a minute.
Okay, good. All right. I know you're a busy person over there. So plus I know you can probably chime in on some of these. But what I'm going to do is talk about proven ways to get sales, to get people in the door, to improve your bottom line. And like I say, I usually talk in foundational. I'm talking in like test tube, how to make it work. But today I'm going to give you some concrete ways to get sales in the door. These are proven methods. Some are time tested. Now the first one many of us aren't doing, but we're familiar with it. It's called PR, public relations. Do stuff, do things, engage, get out here in the community, let people see you. They want to see that you are involved, that you are doing things, that you're not just about making money. And what that does, it generates social proof. And this has been manifested itself over social media recently, where people are showing every time you turn around that somebody's out at the food line, they're out there helping homeless people, they're helping old ladies cross the street. Well, that stuff actually works. People want to feel like you have more at heart, that you are a participant in the community. So PR, time tested, it still works. Number two, organic search traffic. You have to be on Google's good side. Most of us call it SEO, search engine optimization. You need to find out what your keywords are, and you have to get those keywords in your website. You got to get them in those H1 headers. You got to get them in the content. You got to get them all over the place, because when somebody types in and they don't know your name or your company, they need to be able to type in the industry you're in, the benefits that you offer, and other important keywords have to be part of your organic search traffic business model. Another one, content marketing. Content marketing is hot right now. If you have a blog, this radio show is an example of content marketing, where you're providing valuable information to build your credibility and to give value to the audience you're trying to reach. Content marketing, it actually works. And if I don't, when I get off this show, usually there's somebody waiting, calling me or saying, hey, can I come by your office? Let's set up a Zoom, because they've heard some content that's providing value to them, and they want to find out more about this guy. Can this guy help me? So that's content marketing. Another one, affiliate programs. You need to get other folks selling your product for you. Okay. Affiliate program. I have an author right now, and we had to actually turn our affiliate program off because the doors were jumping off the hook. We couldn't handle the business. We had to turn the affiliate program into a licensing program, because the affiliate program brought in too many people trying to sell this product or service. It became overwhelming. Affiliate program simply means that somebody can sell your product for you, strangers or anybody who has a similar audience, and you will pay them a percentage of that particular sale. On the heels of that is called referral program. Referral program is similar to an affiliate program. The difference being the referral program is usually people that you already know. It's either like your stakeholders, it's employees, it's your customers. You're giving them a piece of the pie for referring people. I have a standing referral program right now. Anybody send me a customer, I'm gonna give you 20%, period. We don't have to discuss it. We don't have to talk about it. You send me a customer, you have a standing 20% off that initial sale. Lead generation programs. What these are, you actually pay somebody to send you leads. You pay a company to send you leads. They do the qualification for you. You pay per lead, usually on a per lead basis. That still works. Sometimes you don't understand the marketing, the intricacies of going ahead generating leads. There are companies that have done all of that work for you. You pay them. Sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's $10, but you pay for that lead that's already been qualified. Save you a whole lot of marketing legwork. Those are lead gen programs. Events and conferences, they still work. Right now, much of that is being done online through Zoom, through virtual meetings and conferences, but it still works. You have a chance to sit there and tell your tale. I joined a program called the Black Business Directory a few years ago. I jumped out of it because I was getting all these calls. I didn't have time to work. So I said, thank you guys, but I need to take a break, because they would have these Zoom meetings, Candice. They would have these Zoom meetings like one every week. We're going to introduce the new people in the program, the direct. I'm like, yeah, but I think I'm just going to take a pause right now, because it was working. It was working like more than I ever thought. Social media marketing. Yeah, we know social media marketing. People saying, hey, look, when am I going to get rich with this social media? I've been doing this stuff for a year now. The problem may be that you haven't put together a social media strategy. You might be on the wrong platform. You might not be using the right hashtag. You might not be using the right media type. Your people might be more interested in static versus video, or text versus this. You have to have the right combination. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be teaching at the college, Prince George's Community College, coming up next week. That's going to be one of my first courses, social media marketing. You got to understand how social media works. Mobile platforms. Right now, 70% of the people that are going to the internet right now are going through mobile devices. You have to start looking at some of these mobile advertising platforms. I'm not going to get into detail, but just know people are on phones right now. Another one, paid online advertising. Right now, advertising is sold through CPM, CPC, CPA. That stands for cost per 1,000 impressions, cost per click, which means that you only pay if they click on the ad, and cost per action, which means you only pay if they actually make a purchase. You need to get onto some of these programs. Google has an ecosystems out here that sometimes I hate to give Google all this free advertising, but you got to tap into it. It's hard to ignore Google. They do have some pretty good CPM, CPC programs. It's called pay per click that Google Ads campaign. Direct sales. Direct sales still work. One of my clients, L. Griggs and Associates, he's running ads on our platform as a sponsor because what they're trying to do, they're building a direct sales force. Some of these folks are making $500 a day because they're getting paid on the results of their actions. So if you might have a company that benefits from a direct sales team. Business development and cross venture platform. That simply means partnering with companies that share your customer base. In other words, you get together, just like Candice Lab. We're on this show together, talking about our thing. Where you partner with folks that are going after the same audience, you pool your resources, and you put together a better mousetrap that lowers your cost per acquisition cost. Traditional media still works. When I say traditional, we're talking about the old school media. We're talking about direct mail. We're talking about TV. We're talking about cable. We're talking about radio. Think about your audience. Before you throw radio and TV out the door, if you're trying to reach that, what we call the laggard or the late majority part of the population, those folks still look at TV. They're looking at Mayberry. They're looking. they're still going to the mailbox.
What's the late majority? You know what?
Well, Candy, we're talking about.
You just
That's
got
actually
to get my laugh out, Robin. I was good right up until it. I mean, I have a couple of questions, but the late majority. Go ahead.
Well, let me break it down for you. This is called the consumer adoption process. Every consumer, they're going to follow one of these categories. They're called the innovators, the early majority, late majority, early adapters, and the last one on the pile is called the laggards, and that's usually the old folks. But if you're targeting laggards and late majority, let's say if you're selling senior services, at home health care services, you have a property that's renting out like the ladies on Golden Girls, you want to run that thing in like a direct mail campaign, advertise on TV, run it on their favorite radio program, the Senior Beacon. That's traditional ads. What has happened, Candice, is people have used this cookie cutter approach. These young folks, they feel like everybody's on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook.
Can I ask you a question? And I know you've given us a lot. So even as an entrepreneur, as sitting here listening to you, it's just overwhelming when all the things that you have to do. So one of the questions I have you, because most of us don't understand exactly what that is. Like we haven't a clue as to what we should do, understand all of the SEOs, CEOs, the CBCs, and all the letters of the alphabet that goes along with, being in business. I mean, who do you actually, you need this stuff, but who do you actually get to try to explain it to you one thing at a time? Because at the end of the day, just like you ran all of that off, when you sit down with the average marketer, and I'm going to say marketer, not brander, because your brand is your brand. But when you sit down with the average marketer, they roll all this stuff off to you. And I sit to them like, okay, where should I start? Because at the end of the day, you really don't understand it. You know some of the things that you need. But when you hear stuff like that, what is some of the first things that you can do? And who should be the one that help you get through it? It's almost as if you tell me all the time what I have to do. But what you don't do is give me a blueprint to follow as the entrepreneur as to, okay, this goes here, we go here, we go here. It's like you throw this stuff up against the wall and say, okay, what's sticking? What we doing today?
That is a perfect question, because last week, the week before, I think on the 12th, when the last time I was on the air, I did a program called The Process. And I was talking about different types of a process. Like when you're talking about building a house, the process is there. And when the person tells you you're gonna build that house over there on that lot B, you can drive by every day and see if that house is being built. You go by there and they haven't poured the concrete, that means, hey, nothing's happening. I'm gonna miss that deadline if the house was due tomorrow. But when it comes to marketing, we have to treat it as a process, and the person that you entrust in doing that has to understand the process, and they have to break that down to you. As I was telling the audience last time we talked, when you hire a marketing company like myself, we can't tell people to trust the process. We have to give them something tangible to say that this process is about to happen. We do that, what we call a Gantt table, A Gantt table pretty much tells you, look, this is how this process is going to work. First thing we're going to do is to write a strategy. And that strategy is going to explain the benefits, the goals, the objectives, how your money is going to be spent. And then we put in what we call timelines. Okay, the first month, we're going to put up your logo. At the same time, concurrently, maybe working on your website. Then once we get that done, let's look at some social media marketing. Let's look at some traditional advertising. Let's look at building your sales force. Let's talk about some of the things on this list. What it comes down to, Candice, you have to entrust this process into somebody who knows what they're doing, because most small businesses are going to fail. I want you all to hear this. To anybody out here who's in business, who's thinking about going into business, or know somebody in business, you have a slim chance of succeeding at this, because most small businesses don't know what the heck they're doing when it comes to building business. They know how to build a cake, do the hair, do the law, books. But if you're not up on the latest and the foundational aspects of business development, there's a very good chance your business is going to fail. Now, that's why, Candice, during this pandemic, my company has exploded, because one thing, a lot of people got that PPP money, they got the EIDL money. They don't know what to do with it. Some are just blown it. They're already broke. What they should have done is found a guy like me that's going to walk them through this process. And it is a process. I wish I could wave a magic wand tomorrow and say, look, all right, put some money on the table. By next week, man, we're going to be rolling up $100 bills, lighting up cigars. It just doesn't work like that. So I'm telling you, there is no short, quick answer, except start the process with somebody who knows what they are doing.
There you go.
That is the answer.
And that's basically it. It's almost as if, like, who do you go to? So even for me, and it's funny because I was talking to some business owners yesterday. I had a meeting with some of them, and we were talking about the things that, they have to do in business and what was important. I sit around and I'm listening because, my question is always like, what about the business of your body? Do you know that your well-being is part of the well-being in your business? So even when you're talking about being financially fit, when you're talking about being business fit and all the things that's in it, why aren't you in this mess? Did you know that even as a business owner, when you actually invest in a wellness program, when you invest in the gym, when you invest in things, it is a write-off for your business. So one of the ladies says, are you telling me that the money I spent with you is an investment? Is a write-off? It most definitely is. It's a part of you being well so you can operate inside of your business. So you have to know that has to be added in, because if you're an entrepreneur, they tell you to go ahead and get disability insurance. But why is no one telling you to do that? Your well-being and taking care of yourself is your living insurance. They're telling you to get some insurance for when you come disabled. Why isn't anybody talking about getting insurance, making the investment right now so you can be okay, so you won't get disabled? So that's the part about it. So business owners, part of your well-being is tax deductible. Talk to your accountant. So if you hire my company, to say in that you're helping me with getting well so I can sit up straight or whatever it is you're trying to do so I can increase my bottom line, you have to know that's part of your business. Everybody is doing business without them in it. That doesn't make sense to me.
And you will love my segment I did on the process. When I was enumerating and rattling off the types of processes, I use wellness as an example. I said, you just don't get well. There's a process involved. You got to exercise, you got to drink water, you got to get your rest. That is a process. And so that is a good example, because you and I are in a similar line of work. You don't see the results tomorrow. You've got to invest the time in the process to make the process work. One of the things we do, Candice, when we put together people's marketing strategy, and we're doing this more now than we ever done before, I want to know where we are in this process. I need to know whether or not you're making $200,000 a month or whether you're making $2,000 a month, because that's going to help me determine where you are in this process. You might need more business development than you need marketing. You know what I mean? People tell you what they think they need because that's all they know. So, well, I want a website and a logo. Oh, wait a minute. You sure that's all you need?
But
You know what I mean?
They're scared to tell you what's their budget because they don't want you to like put them at a lower space when I know I'm trying to get up here. But what we don't realize is that, and it took me a minute to understand this too. I'm like, I don't have no budget. Just tell me what I need. Now I
Candice,
understand and say, listen, this is what I have. I know possibly where I need to go, but how we gonna get there? So now I know to ask that question.
when you go to that doctor, you better tell him you got a rash. You can't go in there and say, look, hey, everything's cool. If he needs to know, I don't care how embarrassing it might be. You better say, look, brother, if you have to whisper in his ear, look.
But eventually, when the pain gets, but see, here's the thing about the doctor. A lot of
Right.
times, even for that embarrassment, until the pain gets unbearable,
Right.
then you won't go. You know, then embarrassment and none of that stuff don't matter. But now it's too painful not to try to get some help. And that's what happens with entrepreneurs. We get in a space where, holy smokes, you know, I gotta call somebody right now. So,
Well,
you know, who you gonna call?
Well, Candice, you open up this can of worms. As I was giving the ways that people can get sales into their business, and I wasn't going to get into a sales pitch with Robert Gatewood. I just want, because if you see me up here every week, you probably already know I know what the heck I'm doing. And like I said, I made an announcement back in the beginning of February. I know the exact date I did. It was February 12th. I said, we're not taking any more clients because we need to take care of the clients we have. Yeah, we're doing great. But my goal is we have to make sure, because the mission of this show is not to make Robert Gatewood rich. If I get rich because I'm doing something great, then of course it was ordained. But my goal is, as a mission and having a purpose, is to make sure we curb some of these business failures in our community. It's abysmal. I mean, it's like it's an abyss. Small black businesses don't stand a chance when they try to do this themselves because they're using this social proof. They see everybody out here posting on Facebook. They figure they throw up a couple of Facebook posts. They get out of net to catch the money. That is not how it works. You have to embed and invest in this process. And yes, people get impatient. They're like, "Hey, man, I've been doing this now for a month. Why I'm not rich yet?" It just doesn't work that way. Hang in there. You hang in there like folks like Bradley Thomas, hanging there like folks like Joe Madison, hanging there folks like Neely Fuller, like Thorne and Jerry over MRS Tax, like Comey's Grade Law Firm. These folks have been around me, and I'm gonna tell you, they all of them probably ready to choke me after the first month. Hey, this guy had made me a darn dime yet. But eventually, they understood the process. And every one of them I just named right now doing phenomenal because they understand the process. And Lord knows, Candice, that is why I do this show, because I know that people don't understand how it works. I've
But
been
you
doing this
gotta
for 10
trust
years.
it too. You have to not only understand it, you also have to trust the process.
Ooh,
And
Candice,
see,
Candice,
that
Candice, Candice. Listen, you go back and listen to my show from the February 12th. One of the first things on
okay.
the list, I said, you have to trust the person that's telling you to wait this process out. I'm not going to sit there and believe this person that just jumped. I just heard about them last week and they're telling me to invest in this process that might take me 6 or 7 months to manifest itself. You got to have some level of trust. That's why you deal with people. That's why you brand your business. That's why we engage in what I just talked about, content marketing. I'm completing this circle for you.
But you know what? Not only that, Rob, because when you get back, when you're talking about trusting, it's not even it's a matter of not even trusting you, because we come to you because we trust you or whatever the case may be. But here's the deal though. You have to trust your own brand. You have to trust what it is that you built, because if I'm going to come to you again trying to get better, and like he said, after a month we ain't doing anything, but I have to trust my own brand and have faith and believe. See, that comes right back to your mentality of not so much your trusting, but trusting in yourself and your product that you
And
have, that I have enlisted your help for,
and
that you know what, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be
now
okay over here.
now I know why I like you. You have just you have you have just really nailed exactly what I said last 2 weeks ago when I was talking about the process. I said that trust is a two-way street. You gotta trust that facilitator. But if you don't trust the product you're putting on the table and your abilities, this thing is dead and is dead on arrival.
It's dead on arrival. So a lot of times when I get my little business hat on, see, most folks look at me like I'm the Wellologist. Yes, I am. But Candice Camille Enterprises is a business. So even at the end of the day, this high performance trainer put on the CEO hat and decide that, you know what, I got to build this business. Like, what am I doing to get you in the door? Like my last, my newest discount thing that I had that I put out that simply says, we having a March Madness. You have stopped doing your resolutions, right? We're into March. You are a woman, so I'm on my mission. And if you are a Black woman, I want to know why you haven't hit the button that says you're going to take your wellness as a responsibility. You need to get in here, at least give yourself 90 days to get in here and say, what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to put my body and my well-being on vacation that says that I'm on probation. Let me put it that way, on probation. And I'm going to see if I going to get this benefit in 3 months to start feeling better. So again, I went to a marketing person like, what the hell am I supposed to say? She says, what do you feel? I told her, she said, then put that on paper. That's exactly what I did, right? Subject line said what? Did you lose those 10 pounds you said you were going to lose? So of course you're going to open it up if you have not lost. So again, going to a marketer, going to a content person, and simply saying that this is what to think. So when I went and talked to them, it was a matter of, I believe in my brand. I want to know, how do I get, especially Black women altogether, but how do I get Black women to take part in this March Madness program for 90 days, just so they can see and prove to themselves that if they show up and get committed to the process,
Your topic today is a good lead in. That's where if I throw my little 2 cents on the hat, contextualize that. You can take that article and tape it on your forehead, because that's good context that feeds into what you're trying to get them to do. Yes. That's why we're going back to content marketing. Content marketing was one of those things that I say is proven to work. So you have good content. This article talked about Black women not really taking responsibility for their health and they having all these ills. Well, now you have another authoritative source that's stamping what you have or what the goal of your actual program. So I would take that article, I would share it, I would put it in a handout at the conference. People need to contextualize that and make it a part of that March Madness program. And so that's a good living example how content marketing works and why it's so effective and why it was one of my top 10 proven ways to get sales in the door in 2021. And I want to apologize to everybody if we went over today, but Candice got me preaching over here. Blame Candice. She messed around. She started it talking about how do we do it. You're telling us all this stuff. Now, what do we need to do? How do we do it? Well, let's blame Candice, daggone it. But Candice had added some very valuable input too, because she is living it in the moment. She's not just smart, but she's actually doing this as we speak.
Yes.
So I also want to shout out to some folks. Brother Brown, of course. I see D Bowman. Good morning. Good morning, Linda Hobson. Good morning, Dara Spears, my good buddy Dara Spears. He says hello there, Candice and Marsha down in Houston, Texas. Man, we got folks listening from all over the world. Now we can see the ones here, but there are others on Twitter and YouTube whose feeds who are not in the feed, but we know we're listening because I see the likes coming up and the little hearts going up on the screen. So, but thank you everybody for tuning in today. And if I missed anybody, blame it to my heart, not my head. But anyway, my head, not my heart. I got it mixed up. See, I've been preaching too hard here.
Blame your head, not your heart.
Head, not your heart. You don't want it the other way around. That's exactly what you don't want. Hey, Candice, any parting words? Let folks know how they can reach you again, please.
Actually, you can reach me. I am at the Wellologist across all social media platforms. Can't miss it. Candice Camille at the Wellologist. You can go to sexyfitwell.com to see what we are all about. in terms of what we have to offer in the whole sexy fit and well movement. I would love to stay connected. But again, I'm at the Wellologist. Hit the like button, go to my social media pages, join the movement, join the sexy fit and well movement, especially if you're a woman and a Black woman, to change these statistics. Come on into our March Madness program. We have one program that actually is going to expire on Sunday. So if you want to get in on these 90 days, check out my page and see what it's all about, and come on in and just get well with us. Just come and be sexy, fit, and well with us.
All right. Brother Brown, so that's okay. You can go longer. Thank you, Brother Brown, but we're not going to torture you anymore today. We'll be back. Hey, that's all the most vindication I need. That we will be back next week at the same time here on the Marketing Pulpit TV show. We have more hints, more ideas, more tips. We're going to talk more about this process. We're going to give you some tangible things that you can do. Next week, we're going to have a guest. Matter of fact, one of our international clients is going to be on our show. A guy actually from Africa who's selling some nice products, oil and coconut oils. So they're going to be on next week talking about their products and how we're going to bridge this divide between the continents. So, folks, you can't go wrong by tuning into the Marketing Pulpit. I see Idea Gear by WM. Great show. He says, trust the process. Thank you very much. Folks, take that advice. And like Candice said, the process is one thing, but you got to, when somebody tell you, look, you might not see results for 6 months, or you might be 3 or 4 months down the road, you need to have some type of trust. That's why you got to work with somebody who knows what the heck they're doing. Folks, there's talent in our community. We don't have to go across the sea. We don't have to go in these other communities to find the talent. We have the talent right here. We showcase it on this show, either through myself, my co-host, and my guests. Folks, the talent is in the community. Let's support the community, because that money goes back into our community, and it helps our kids get summer jobs, put our adult people to work. It builds our institution, lays down foundation, even affects our health in a positive way. So, folks, reinvest in our community. And that's what the Marketing Pulpit show is about. It's about building strong businesses in our community, putting people to work. And I bring in stellar guests and co-hosts like Candice to help manifest that. So I want to thank you again for tuning in today, folks. This has been the Marketing Pulpit radio and TV show. We'll be back on Radio 1 at some point, folks. We're still trying. They haven't let us back in the studio yet. But you can go to Radio 1 or WL 1450. You can hear the past shows. The shows are still running on Radio 1, so you can actually catch us on Radio 1 as well as on this particular platform. Folks, that's going to wrap up the show for today. I am Robert Gatewood. Go to marketingpulpit.com to find out more about the show. You can actually share this show. Make sure this information gets to the right ear holes. But if somebody's want to find the show, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter. But they can always go to marketingpulpit.com. You can find the information right there on the homepage. And thank you again, Candice. We'll see you next time, folks. And if you want to be successful, you have to do these 3 things. You have to do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you got to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work.